So about 6 years ago, maybe more, I started blogging, and the name of my blog was My Messy World, and that's how it was born. Because I started trying to figure out, as my youngest daughter was transitioning out of our home, what, kind of who I was. I'd spent all my life being there for other people, taking care of other people, and being what they needed me to be for them, but it sort of made me lose myself in the process. And so I was like, man, this all feels very messy to me, trying to figure out who I am. And so I started blogging, and I thought, well, maybe I miss it, so maybe I should start blogging again. But then I thought, well, people really don't read a lot of blogs anymore. They mostly just watch videos. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll just vlog and just share some of the things I've written and just see, is it going to be a hit or a flop? So here we go. The first one I want to talk about is part of who I am, this part that makes up me, is that I'm a friend. And I never really know if I'm a good enough friend, though. I kind of always feel like I don't do enough to show my friends how important they are to me, how much they mean to me, how much joy they bring to my life, how much I love them. And as I was writing this post that day, I was doing it with a heavy heart. And there's people in my life that I consider to be my friends and that I'm friends with, but there's different types and different levels of friendships. There's only really a handful of friends in your life that I would consider the true blue, through thick and thin kind of friends, meaning they're the people that I would call in a heartbeat in the middle of the night if I needed them, and they would call me. I wouldn't feel bad about it. I wouldn't think twice about it if it was bothersome or not, and neither would they. And that's a blessing, because not many people can say that they can count those friends on two hands. I can. Some friends that I haven't spoken to in a while, some friends I speak with just about every day, others I have contact with often via social media. My cousin Jen, she's kind of my person. She was... I guess she's my Christina Yang from Grey's Anatomy, if you have that. She's the one on my call list. I would call her first. It's just the way it is. And my ex-husband, Rod, he's also a person that I would call if I ever needed anything. I love that man as much as I could love anyone. He's always been there for me, and I sort of grew up with him in a manner of speaking. If he called me and needed me, I would go to him. It wouldn't matter what or where or when or why. I would be there, no questions asked. And then there's my friend Elaine. She's been a friend of mine for over 30 years. And we, most of that time, lived almost 1,200 miles apart. But if I needed someone, I knew that I could call her and that she would be there for me no matter what. And she knows that too. And then there's people I haven't connected with in a very long time, but I've reconnected with, and that's sort of special. There's my friend in South Florida, Brandy, who I just love to death. We don't talk very often anymore, but I know that if I needed something and I called her, she'd pick up the phone and she'd be there for me. And then there's the people that I call sort of my Tallahassee crew, right? These are my now friends. These are the people that are in my life every day on some level. Shelly and Ian. Rick and Dottie, Kathy, Mandy, all of my friends at Midweek Grind, which is the coffee group that I'm a part of. There's just really almost too many to name. I could call any one of those people, I feel like, if I was in trouble and I needed something. And one or more of them, they're going to come running with food, support, money, comfort, alcohol, whatever I needed to get me through that crisis I was having. I have other good friends here, but there's certain friends that I would just call and I know they would be there. My friends from church, those sort of things. I have lots of good relationships here, but there's those few people that you're like, man, I need something and this is who I'm going to call. And then there's my friend Amanda. She died several years ago. When I moved to Tallahassee, Amanda was the person that I really connected with. We went to lunch one day, and that was it, man. We were just best buds. We connected, and we were just there. We have been through some shit. And I became friends with her about the time my relationship had ended with my youngest daughter's biological mom, and I was scared she was going to try and take my daughter away. And I was trying to figure out how in the world I was going to stop that because I had no legal rights. Amanda was there for that. She was always willing to listen. We'd go to happy hour after work a couple of times a week. We'd talk. We'd eat lunch together. We'd take our breaks together every day at work. We'd be each other's house on the weekend or whatever. We shared a love of music that was always really strong. She's had her own issues that she had confided in me about, and we'd talk through them or drink through them or sing through them or whatever we needed to do to make the other one feel better. She's called me on more than one occasion late into the night just to talk through some things while she was sitting on her back deck listening to music, feeling low or feeling in a bad place. And I always picked up the phone. I always tried to take that call and talk her through it. And I've always tried to be there for her. And when she was diagnosed with a really aggressive type of brain cancer, it was tough. She fought it for years, but she got tired. It's like she was doing the things she had to do, the chemo, the radiation, to keep them at bay, and then another tumor would pop up, and there was just one that kind of hit her at the stem of her brain and the spinal cord where those things met, and that wasn't good, and there was just finally no way she could fight through that anymore. She was tired, and she wanted to fight, but she was just worn out, and so they did what they had to do as far as calling in hospice and that sort of thing, but it was tough. But she told me a lot of things in the last couple of years of her life, so much regret in her heart, so many things she wished she'd done differently or taken for granted. She kept that all inside for the most part, but she confided in me. I could feel every ounce of pain. It's one of the downsides of being an empath. Everything that she was feeling, I just felt it because we were connected. But I hurt for her two children and her husband, who was one of the most selfless people I've ever met. He took care of her and their two children and ran a business and did just everything by himself. And he's just a wonderful human. But as our time drew near, I thought back to all the fun things we'd done together and the trips and the concerts, the summer days we spent on our back deck listening to music and talking and just hanging out, and the arguments we had over decisions made or things that weren't the right ones that don't even need to be discussed here. But I feel like it all kind of happened too quickly. It was just a minute that I got to have her in my life, and then we drifted apart for a while because life, I left the job and we didn't talk as much and that sort of thing. Excuses just got in the way. But I loved her and I was hurting for her and the pain she was going through, and I miss her terribly every day. And even 6 or 7 years later now, after all of those things happened, I still miss her every day. I've learned a lot of things from my different friendships throughout the years. I've learned that sometimes you're a better friend than that friend is to you. And I've learned that sometimes life gets in the way of making memories and being there for someone. And that's so wrong. And that there's nothing we can do to get that time back. I've learned that we all think on some level we're going to be immortal, and we're not. And we're not long for this world. Whether we have 20 days or 20 years left, it goes by fast, and our time here is short. And so what are we doing? Why do we let life dictate it all? Why do we constantly make excuses about why we can't take time, why we can't be bothered, why it's not worth it? It changes in the blink of an eye. One thing my friendship with Amanda taught me was that most of the times the things people take to the grave with them is regret. And so I think she would say to live your life, truly live it, enjoy it, soak it up. Spend time with your family and friends. Open yourself up. Tell them how you feel. Tell them how special they are to you, what good things they bring to your life. Listen to good music, laugh, and love with reckless abandon without worrying about being loved back. And do it like there's no tomorrow. If you don't, you're going to regret it. And most of all, it's important to be a good friend because life is messy. But talking about it, that really helps.